You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV Spartacus After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Spartacus After Show.
Yes. Bing is for doing, everybody. And here we are doing another episode of Spartacus for AFTERBUZZ TV. This is Season 3, Episode 1, Enemies of Rome. I am your host, Sean Overman, and I am joined here by my lovely co-host,
Spicy Marty, and I'm going to be bringing up all the spicy sizzling stuff that went on in this episode, y'all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There was lots of it.
So it's been a whole year, Spicy, and we're back with Spartacus.
Can you believe it? It seemed like it took forever for this season to come back, but phenomenal and off to a great start.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's it's titled War of the Damned. So we by that title we kind of know what's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna die.
There's gonna be a whole lot of damnness going on.
Yeah, everybody's damned, especially all the slaves. And you know what? This is actually we're gonna do a little bit of a recap.
Please, because there's a lot of stuff that happened last season that has changed since this season that we see.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the last episode, the season finale of Season 2. Okay, we had a lot of people die, a lot of important people.
I know, it was a sad episode.
It was. So we had Asher, who was beheaded by Navia, pretty much, right?
That was a great scene.
That was a great scene. It was a great episode. He got what he deserved.
Oh, yeah.
Anameus, sad to see him go.
Who we absolutely love and adore.
We do.
It was very, very, it was a tearjerker.
We did.
Hard.
Mirror was killed on Mount Vesuvius.
Oh, I love Mirror too.
And do you remember who killed her? I forgot. Someone threw like an axe at her and it hit her in the chest or something like that, or in the back when she was like being an archer. Do you remember that?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
you have the photographic memory.
Yeah, I just remember she got like axed. She got hit pretty good, and she died on Mount Vesuvius, which was pretty sad. Gosh, she was so beautiful.
I remember Spartacus not really tripping.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm gonna miss her.
Yeah.
But how about my ex-wife?
Everybody else missed her a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. He just wasn't connected. He's still in love with his ex.
And among the other bad people, of course, Asher was one of those bad guys. We had Glauber, killed by Spartacus. He was deep-throated by a sword.
Which he deserved.
And that was in the villa. And then we had Lucretia cut the baby out of Ilithia's stomach. And Ilithia was bleeding to death, trying to chase after her and save the baby.
That was an intense scene.
It was. And Lucretia, in a crazed rage of some kind, she jumped off the cliff with the baby in hand.
And she is no longer on this season.
That's right, of course. And at the end of last season, I wasn't sure if Ilithia had lived or not because it showed her crawling, but I guess the implication was that she's dead.
Yeah.
Because she bled out.
Which are some of our favorite women from the season prior that we are going to deeply miss. So let's give a moment of silence for them. Okay.
1001. Let's go. Yeah, there goes that
And they're
moment.
gone.
By the way, don't forget to hit us up at AFTERBUZZ TV on Twitter, of course, facebook.com/AFTERBUZZ-TV, or call in tonight, 424-256-1729. So we have quite a few things to talk about. We're going to be talking about the amazing threesome.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to start off with that. I have to keep it spicy. And so, yes, we start off with this intense, amazing fight scene at the beginning of this episode. But what stood out to me more was this intense, amazing, passionate love scene.
Oh, and actually it was a foursome. I misspoke. It's not a threesome, it was a foursome.
It was a foursome, you're right, because there was 3 women, 2 kissing on each other while he was getting his freak on with his new lover.
Saxa.
Saxa is her name.
Yeah, from last season. Remember, she was the German
And I
girl
didn't
who got all
recognize her
crazy?
at first, but I can see that it's like you recognize the blonde hair, the physical attributes, and that you can see that it's her. But this sex scene was definitely X-rated. Like it was almost, it wasn't porn because it was on Starz, but it was definitely hot. It showed all of the nooks and crannies. We saw nipples, we saw butt, we saw abs.
I saw a little bit of pube hair, I think.
A little bit of pube hair, probably. We saw tongue. We saw every single body part being used except for the blurp blurp, like the main ones. But it was pretty hot and heavy. And then from that scene of the foursome, which you called an orgy,
I called it an orgy, yes.
it transitioned into 2 men that were having, I guess,
They're having gay sex. They're having sex.
2 lovers having a gay scene.
Yeah, we go from a foursome, which is, it's
And
a
it
foursome,
cuts
which
to
is more.
Nasser and Agron.
Yes, it cuts to Nasser and Agron, and that was such an interesting way that, of course, Stephen denied it. I'm sure he wrote this. He wrote this episode, actually. He did, and he must have wrote that screenplay so well for it because it totally messed with the audience. To be honest, like it goes from something that's more mainstream and like a bit more acceptable.
You get pulled into Gannicus having this amazing, passionate affair with these women that how do I say her name? Saxa had brought these women for him. That's like every man you can speak to on Mind. That's their fantasy. And so that's their greatest dream come true.
And then it goes to
two men
finishing what they were doing, and I'm sure
they were orgasming. It was the same intensity.
It was the same thing. It went from Gannicus finishing his orgasms to Nasser and Agron, 2 men finishing their orgasms together as lovers.
And I thought that was an interesting parallel because it's heterosexual passion versus homosexual passion, but just as intense, just as important, although they got a shorter scene of it.
They did because overall in society right now, I would say it's not as acceptable to be seeing that stuff. But you know what I saw?
I don't even think Spartacus follows those rules though.
No, it doesn't.
It has its rules of its own.
That we talked a little bit about that last season, how it's all about, it doesn't matter about homosexual sex, heterosexual sex, it's all sex and it's all love. And it's just love between 2 people or in Gannicus's case, 4 people. But
if you think about it, Nasser and Agron are really in love.
They are, and this is the first time that we have seen an admirable gay relationship that we actually know the characters so well, and they have lasted more than a season. We had Barca, that was his name. I was trying to think about it off air. Barca, remember him? He was the beast of Carthage. Him, and he had a couple of gay lovers, right? But they always got killed off.
Correct.
In season 0. Gods of the Arena, he had his gay lover there. I forgot that guy's name, but who killed him? Crixus killed him in the arena.
Oh, that's right.
They showed him and Barca being together, and then boom, he's gone within like 1 or 2 episodes. He's gone.
Yeah, and that was pretty sad.
It was sad. And then we have him with Pietros. Pietros dies during the season, and so does Barca. So it's like all these gay relationships are ending so quickly and abruptly.
But this one is lasting.
This one is lasting, and it's nice to see it lasting. And it's going to make us feel more for the characters when something happens to either Nasser or Agron.
And we got to see Nasser transition from a weak slave into this strong gladiator that Agron actually respects, he appreciates. Not only does he love him as his lover, but he also loves that he's a warrior now.
That's right.
And that he's getting respect as a man. Men still want respect at the end of the day.
From all the other slaves.
Correct.
Well, they're not slaves anymore. What do we call them?
They're the gladiator crew, the gladiator army.
I think I was reading somewhere, maybe we talked about it, but they're more like insurgents now.
Right, you did say that before.
Because they're fighting against should we call them
the
Liberation Army?
Yeah.
Let's call them the army, whatever. Yeah, they're fighting against the Roman injustice.
Right.
I just think it's going to be really sad for what were we talking about? Yeah, for Nasser to die if he
Oh,
dies.
he
'cause
better
he's
not.
probably going to die
I can
first.
see him dying. I already know.
Because he's small.
Yeah, he is little.
But he is being looked up to by the other small guys, like Lugo, that one German guy who's tinier than him. You remember that? He's like, oh, you're not little man anymore. So that was pretty funny
You
stuff.
did say you noticed how ripped the Germans are in comparison to everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. In that one scene where it shows Nasser schooling everybody in
Which
that
is
little fight.
crazy, right?
Because he wasn't even like that
For
at
him
all.
to go from such weakness to strength, I love these transitions and they let us grow with these characters. They let the characters develop over time so that although we may not respect them in the beginning and we might kind of even look down upon them, over time with episode to episode, we start to revere these characters. And Nassar is a perfect example of one.
Absolutely. And a character that I revered a lot within this whole series has been Gannicus. Okay, we were talking about Gannicus a little
Yes.
bit. Let's finish up talking about him
Okay.
because he has accountability issues, right, going on with this episode here.
Yeah, I mean, he's always kind of been this rebel without a cause. He's
like a rock star.
He's destructive. Yeah, he's like, I'm just going to have sex and have fun and kill and not answer to anybody, but I'm going to do what's right at the same time. And that kind of is confusing because is he a leader or is he not a leader? And he has yet to choose which one. And although he's doing right and he's following in Spartacus's footsteps and helping with the cause, he's not taking accountability, like you said.
He's only doing what's asked of him. He's not doing any more. He doesn't want to be a leader.
He's not checking in.
And even though in that scene, that they had a really important scene together where Gannicus reports to Spartacus after 3 days of fucking and drinking wine. So they have, it was such an ironic scene. And I feel like the overall, like the more I analyze it, their relationship is almost like, it's so funny because Gannicus, he's a drunk. He's pretty much a drunk.
Correct.
He is actually the most clear person in the whole insurgency because he is telling Spartacus the only thing that's on his mind, which is, why are you doing this? Why are you still bloodthirsty for Romans? And it's not bloodthirst. You know, he's doing it out of, Spartacus is doing this out of some noble cause, right? He wants to make sure that the Romans do not enslave anybody ever again, right? But it takes the drunkard to see, it's like he's the soothsayer, you know, in like Shakespearean plays. He's like, he has this clarity, even though he's drunk, he's saying, Spartacus, you are sending us down a path of madness, and I will follow you to the Roman Senate if that is your wish.
Right.
But I know that this is going to end pretty much badly.
Well, he says 1,000 lives would not equal Soraeus. I dared to love a woman once. Soros. I dared to love a woman once, which means, Spartacus, I see through you. This is all still in her honor. These years that you've been fighting, these years that you've wanted your freedom, it's all been for your ex-wife. That's all that it's been for. And Spartacus has had many lovers we've seen on the show, but none compared to his wife. And he's still fighting in her honor. But Gannicus busts him out, and he's like, I know what this is really about. You still have this vengeance.
He does. It's followed him from the previous season.
And I appreciate the fact that he came clean and talked about his relationship that he had with Oenomaus' wife, because that to him was a big eye-opener and a big awakening, and the one thing that made him vulnerable. And Gannicus is a very strong, prideful man. He's a womanizer, but at the end of the day, he too has experienced true love.
And loss.
And loss, which really, really, it makes you strong, but it also humbles you once you lose them.
Speaking about Spartacus a little bit, so in this scene, it shows Spartacus's fatal flaw, and his hubris is that he believes that he has this noble cause, and he still holds that vengeance. Earlier tonight, I was like, dude, he's like Captain Ahab from Moby Dick. You know, he's chasing after this big beast, this white whale that injured him before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Rome has injured Spartacus by
He blames Rome for every agony or pain that he's ever been through.
Exactly.
But I think that Gannicus sees that, and he knows that because he's fighting for that, and not so much for the honor and all that. Like, they're not Spartacus is saying one thing, but he's really fighting for another. And I think Gannicus sees through that, and that's why he kind of doesn't take it seriously. He's like, I'm gonna fight because I'm a good fighter, and I really know what your cause is. But he hasn't stepped up yet. He's still not stepping up. But I do appreciate the fact that at least he's not fighting for the right side this time.
I guess it's funny that we decided to talk about Gannicus's accountability, but it's really Spartacus's accountability that we're discussing too.
It's Spartacus's accountability also.
He's the one that's forcing everybody into this war of the damned.
Well, I appreciate him saying, so then I will drink and fuck in your name.
Yes.
Because he was telling Spartacus, like, chill, let's have a good time. And Spartacus is like, no. Like, he pushes the cup away from him.
He doesn't want to drink any wine.
Yeah, he's still trying to be holier than thou, you know, baby Jesus. And Gannicus still sees through that. He's like, okay, fine, I'll drink and fuck in your name. But at the end of the day, he knows what they're really fighting for. And he kept it real.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Speaking of keeping it real, our fans, they should keep it real with us.
They should.
And of course, they should, you know, as well, download our iTunes podcast of this show. You know, go to iTunes and type in the search bar Spartacus AFTERBUZZ TV, and you will find us, and you can download this, rate and comment us, give us 5 stars, you know, like, we deserve it, right?
Totally.
Let's go for that, please.
Let us know what other topics you guys want us to talk about as well. If you're a huge Spartacus fan and you would like to see us address X, Y, and Z, we will do it for you. Just let us know what you need.
Yeah, and tell a friend. It only takes a minute, you know?
Exactly.
Just go ahead and do that stuff. We had a big introduction.
Yes.
Somebody who we've been talking about since the first season. Everybody refers to him. Who is it? Marcus Crassus.
Exciting to see him in the flesh. And I appreciate this, the writers of the show immediately showing us his character, who he is. He's very strong. He's a leader, but at the same time, something that you mentioned was this is not a snake like the previous seasons that we've seen where there is someone evil amongst us. He's not a snake. This is someone who's a wolf, you said.
Yes, he's a wolf because he's cunning. Snakes can be cunning. You know, they slither around, but that was Asher, that was Batiatus.
Correct.
That was Glauber. These were all snake-like people who, even Lucretia, Ilithia too. Everybody tried to get around each other, lies behind each other's backs. No one could back anything up. No one could back anything up with power, and that's what Marcus Crassus has. He's the richest guy in Rome. Mm-hmm. He's a formidable fighter. He's not the typical Roman. Mm-hmm. He spars with a gladiator that he purchased in the past.
Correct.
And that's something that it's looked down upon by the senators. Senator Metellus, who we got introduced to as well, and his own son, Tiberius, is like, why are you doing this, father? Why are you grunting and groaning with this slave? You know?
And this was kind of like a moral lesson as well. While we were introduced to this new character and we see his power, we know that he's smarter than what they're presenting to us. And we start to see, and the reason why you say he's not a snake and he's a wolf is because he's able to formulate a plan that we don't know is going on. And he's starting to just kind of piece the puzzle together and create a domino effect. He's playing several mini games at one time.
He does. And because he has the money to back it up, and he has the respect for Spartacus and the slaves. His son Tiberius is like saying, like,
he doesn't get it. He's immature. He's naive. Yeah. The son doesn't get it yet.
Exactly. He thinks that all the slaves are below him, just like every other Roman does. But Crassus, even though he's the richest one above everybody else, he knows that he needs to not underestimate the insurgents.
Well, physical strength comes also with mental strength. So he's training, he's preparing for not only a physical battle with the gladiator, but a mental battle as well.
Exactly.
And that's why he has taken his slave, who used to be a gladiator, and is forcing him to train him in the art of battle so that when it is time for him to go toe-to-toe, he's not fighting in fear.
And the slave's name was Belarus, right?
Correct.
Okay, and so we see Crassus fighting with the unorthodox style with 2 blades, just like Spartacus and Gannicus fight with. And those are the 2 guys we know who kick the most butt on the team, right? And it's just interesting to see that because every other Roman doesn't fight like that. They like fighting with the shield and the sword.
And I appreciate the fact that we got introduced to him, and there's a scene where they challenge one another. And Marcus Crassus says, you know, to his son, you believe wealth and position grant you power and advantage above those beneath you. That was setting us up and preparing us for the fact that not only is he wise and intelligent and he's a great fighter, but he's also 2 steps ahead of us. He knows that it's going to take mental and physical endurance to defeat Spartacus. He knows that Spartacus is a million times stronger than him. Army or not, Spartacus can take him down. So he's preparing for the future, and that's what makes him an intelligent. We haven't seen this before. This mental strength. We've seen snakes, we've seen conniving, we've seen cunning, we've seen undermining. But what he's doing is very strategic. He's preparing as opposed to just being conniving.
You're absolutely right. By the way, Crassus is played by the actor Simon Merrills. I don't know very much about him, but we should do more research on him.
Yeah, let's do some research on him. Let's see who he is.
I must say, though, ever since I first saw him, and his speech, his intonation when he talks during his lines, he kind of reminds me of Daniel Craig, especially in the face a lot.
Oh, I can see that. I definitely can see that.
It's very interesting. And this guy is a very formidable, respectable villain. And he's not the villains that, like Asher, that we loved to hate.
Right.
Because they were so hateable.
Right.
This guy is actually scary.
Well, what did you think about his relationship with Belaris? Because he actually killed someone who I think that he has a respect and love for. But that had to have been hard because he went toe-to-toe with somebody that he knew he needed to take down in order to not be fearful anymore.
That's right.
But it was also somebody who was a slave that was very close to him.
It was. He was probably on par with Onomaus for Batiatus.
Oh, I like that comparison. I love that comparison, Sean.
He probably raised him. He seemed like he was older as well.
They seem very close, right?
They seemed like they actually grew up together.
And it was interesting hearing somebody else call another man Dominus, because we're so used to hearing that in the previous season and with Onomaus, you know, and to hear Belaris say that, it was interesting. I was like, wait, you're not Onomaus.
Yeah, to hear Belaris say that, it took us back 2 seasons.
Yeah. Because
in season 1, you know, everybody got freed by the end, so there was no more Dominuses, right? Very interesting. That was a great fight scene with Belaris and Crassus, by the way.
It was amazing.
It was really good, and it kept going back and forth between Spartacus and his men, killing the 2 generals, or praetors as they call them in Rome. And let's see, cunning. You know, Crassus was just cunning and physically formidable, and he used that great move. You know, he lost his weapons, but he grabbed Belaris' sword.
He cut himself.
He cut himself. No other Roman would do that. They would rather lose their heads than be cut and be bleeding and stuff during a battle, right? They all want to look nice in their cool-looking uniforms with their breastplates and their red cloth, but he gets down and dirty just like the slaves and the insurgents do.
And in that scene, too, you saw Tiberius be so afraid. He was extremely fearful for his father's life, but that shows us the lack of trust and faith that he had in his father's ability. But once you saw his father take down Belaris, you saw that respect was immediately honored. It was earned. Yeah, it was earned. He definitely had a different, like, he was just in awe that his father went to kind of such raw and brutal form in order to win. But that's what it took. Yeah, that's what it took. It took that losing self, losing fearlessness, and just going for it.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Butcher and Spartacus over in the camp, kind of halfway through the episode.
That was a really interesting scene.
So how did we get to that scene? So we have the Gannicus scene going on, right?
We're showing them training, we're showing them fighting.
And we have in the very beginning of the episode, there was actually that horse that Spartacus rode into battle got killed, and that's the one that this guy was using. Did you catch that?
Yes.
The horse that died in battle, it was Spartacus's. Now this guy, this butcher, is he's like a black market butcher. He's like he's cutting up the horse, he's giving it away.
Everybody's like trying to get this horse meat.
And we find out that that Spartacus's army is too large, and that he's unable to feed and clothe everyone because there's so many people, and they're not just people who fight. They're not just the insurgents, the military men. There's kids there. There's women.
Right.
There's children. There's people who don't have the skill to fight. These scrawny, like emaciated guys.
Right.
Who have nothing to do but sit around and eat.
Well, I like that, and I kind of knew that the Butcher was going to do this. I like that the Butcher pointed out the ungodlike features of Spartacus, and kind of made Spartacus have like a little bit of
it made him humbled.
A little bit. I feel like it made him step outside of himself and kind of see that you're so focused on war that you're losing track of the others that are not benefiting from this battle. We're suffering. And look, we're eating your horse. And if you look at the flies and the probably millions of bacteria that were on this meat that they were having to survive off of, it was very grotesque, but it also showed the rawness. It showed the goriness of battle and war.
It showed something other than their victories against the Romans.
Exactly. And it also, he spoke freely because they didn't know that it was Spartacus. And then, of course, we see, the rest of the guys come up, and he's like, oh, my apologies.
He gets identified as being Spartacus.
He gets identified as being Spartacus, the leader. And he's a little bit, the Butcher's a little bit embarrassed, but at the same time, Spartacus needed to know those things that were going on because he wasn't paying attention to anybody who wasn't really fighting.
Absolutely. And that's probably what leads him later on to being like, hey, we can't survive out here during the winter. We need to move somewhere. We need to move to a city. And then he says he wants to tear a city from the flesh of Rome, which was a very good line.
Yes,
by the
that
way.
was really good.
And it was also fascinating to hear how the Butcher was alluding to him, like you were talking about. And it shows that Spartacus is now becoming like a man of legend, a man of legend in stories. So people don't know what he looks like. He's just like this slave who became
That's
this
what happens when
unstoppable
word travels.
Force. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to allude to later on in the end of the season, where they're probably going to have an allusion to the old Spartacus film of the 1960s. Yes, the I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus.
And we'll talk about that later on in our LA Live premiere for News and Gossip.
We will. We will talk about that. And yeah, that's going to be interesting. So Naevia lures the Romans. We saw a little bit of Naevia.
So I appreciate the fact that although I'm not as fond of this Naevia because I really was attached to the other one.
I was too.
I do love the fact that they are allowing us to grow and develop with this Naevia. We're seeing her go from weak to strong. We're seeing her not only fighting skills develop, but her relationship develop as well. And she lures in the Romans in order to help the gladiator army defeat them and acquire information.
She's very cunning.
She is. And so when they stop her and they're like, who is with you? Fine fucking tongue. Naevia's response was hardcore. She replies, death. Because death is what was with her. That is what is awaiting you, Romans. Mess with me, you're gonna mess with my crew. And that's what she was waiting for them to strike her so that she could strike first. She was hoping, please mess with me so that I can kill you because my people got my back, in hood terms.
Absolutely. And we remarked upon, like earlier off air, you mentioned how she thought she was wearing too much makeup. I thought she was wearing, from a male's perspective, I thought she was wearing very little makeup, but you saw the eyes.
Well, you said Naevia is looking better and better. She looks really great this episode. And I said she has a lot of eyeliner and mascara on. I can tell that they've put makeup on her to beautify her, which she's a beautiful woman. But I don't know if eyeliner really existed during this era.
Oh, of course
it was precise too. It looked like smoky eye. Like I felt like it was a little overdone. But I think, they want us to find her more attractive and sexually appealing, which we do. And she obviously is doing something right because she still has her man.
You know what I just realized is other than her and Saxa, we have no other strong women characters.
No, we don't.
Spartacus, he doesn't have Mira anymore.
And I loved Mira. I thought that she was awesome. And I'm really sad to have seen her gone. And
Lucretia and Alithia were both very attractive, and they were both strong female characters as well, and they're both gone.
They're evil. That's where their strength lies.
So it's really interesting. Like there's so much more men now, and there's a lack of women on the cast.
Okay, so you know that I always have to bring up something.
Physiques.
Yeah. I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to say that because you're referring to women. Now we got introduced to another character with Marcus Crassus and Crixus. I always say that wrong. Okay, Marcus Crassus. These names are so hard, guys.
Like ass, like your ass.
Cracks ass.
The god's ram caught in ass.
There's so many names, you guys. I'm sorry at home. I didn't live during this era. and there's a million names, but Marcus Crassus.
You should just call him that from now on.
And his wife. His wife is a new character who's introduced to, and I'm wondering what role she's gonna play.
And we didn't even really get. I don't recall her
We
name.
didn't get too much of her.
But we got the name of the body slave.
But the body slave Coral.
Kore. With Kore.
Okay, is going to tend to Marcus' needs. I felt like this is going to be a storyline for us just because we're used to seeing the women in this movie in positions of power with men of power get played. There's a lot of adultery that goes on in Spartacus. So we already know that she's getting played by her slave, Cora. And so one thing that she said is, your bed awaits if you find a want of it. I felt like that was a very strong line, although we only saw her for like 30 seconds. I felt like his wife's line was very strong because a lot of women in modern day time still deal with this. The mistress. The mistress is something that it's been going on through years and years, generations, and we see it on this show, Spartacus. And the slave is obviously having an affair with him, but the wife knows this and is okay with this because she knows her man is in a position of power.
If he's having an affair, I don't think it's one of love.
No,
I
he's
think
just
it's
using his slave for sex.
Probably just for sex. So she's there and the wife wants to sleep. He's going to let the wife sleep. He doesn't want to burden the wife.
But the wife really wants him in bed.
Yeah.
And it was so disrespectful when he said that Cora will tend to my needs. You just wiped out all of the power and all of the kindness that your wife was trying to give you by doing that.
That's true.
But that shows the fact that they introduced us to him as this strong character, this fighter, this wise, strategic character. They showed us as women his unfaithful and his negative points by his love affair with this slave.
But you know what? I feel like we're imagining this. I feel like everything you're talking about, Spicy.
You don't think he's sleeping with this slave?
I think it's possible that he is, but we haven't seen any evidence of it yet.
His wife's instincts. The reason that I feel like this is because his wife was like, "Oh."
It was a vague statement that he made.
See.
So until I see him.
Did you see Cora's look on her face? She was ashamed. It was a face of shame.
Yeah, I agree with that, but we don't know yet. We still don't know if he is actually physically doing the old in out with her. Mm-hmm. But we'll see next episode because then we'll probably get it confirmed.
Yeah, we'll probably get a little womp going on. But I definitely felt like he disrespected his wife this episode.
I think you're right, and that's probably his only weakness so far. That's his only hubris, is that he's a workaholic and he doesn't care about his family life at home. He's treating his son Tiberius like crap because he's not up to expectations, and he doesn't appreciate his wife.
And, his son's kind of a jerk too, though.
His son is a little
You can tell
jerk.
he's a spoiled, ungrateful, I don't have to watch daddy fight. Because you need to support your father and understand, like, you are going up against some serious beasts.
Does it seem like he might have a little affair with his body slave boy, Tiberius?
I didn't pick that up. I felt like she was kind of.
Not Cora. I'm talking about the boy. Remember, he went out in the hallway. I forgot what scene this was
his
after.
BFF.
Yeah, his like best friend. It looked like it was a little bit more than friendly.
Gay?
I think he might be gay, especially the way he was sitting and such.
Yeah, he was sitting kind of feminine. I don't know, but I can see why you would think that. There is a possibility of that. We can say that's an AfterBuzz prediction.
I think there's an allusion to him being gay, but we'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about who died this episode. So we had some new characters introduced. We had generals, or praetors as they call them in Rome, Cassinius and Furius.
Correct.
Who were at the beginning fight in Nicaea, I think that's the name of the place. Nicaea, something like that. Anyway, so they both end up dead, beheaded by Spartacus, thankfully.
Which was the most goriest scene, I feel like, of the episode. Yeah, the fighting scene, the intro for the fighting scene was pretty awesome.
Smashing the eagle into that soldier's face.
But we've seen lots of fighting scenes before.
Yes.
But that scene where he chopped off both of their heads, the difference between this scene and the other scenes is it was slow motion and we saw the blood pouring from their head. Like their necks were just chopped off and we just see it oozing out, and they put it in slow motion for us so that we didn't miss a drop.
We didn't, and there were no drops actually. It was like a waterfall of goopy blood coming out of their head holes.
But you would agree, you said too, you noticed that this episode was far more gorier than other Spartacus episodes.
I feel like this season, obviously, because it's the last one, they're probably going to make it the goriest they can.
And then you're going to push the envelope too.
And they're going to push the envelope, yeah. And it feels like they're doing something different with the blood. It doesn't look as watery this time.
It looks good though. I like the blood.
It looks like Gak blood. Remember Gak, those little like goopy toys? Like you know what I'm talking about? From,
I don't remember
from
that
Nickelodeon?
Blood.
Like they had those
I remember
Gak
that.
things.
Yeah.
It's like Gak blood.
Okay, so you think that they're using more gacky blood?
I think they're just using more concentrated, syrupy-looking, viscous blood.
Well, I definitely know that they turned up the notch a little bit with the sex scenes. We saw a lot of bathing going on. We saw some threesomes going on. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of more sex going on this season as well.
Absolutely. Senator Metellus was introduced to us, who talked to Marcus Crassus, and then we saw Belarus introduced to us, who is the slave that Crassus killed. And he had an excellent death, which was a very good death. And he was actually over at the premiere that we saw. Did you see him? He was up there on stage at the front.
See, I don't think that I knew when I was watching him which one he was because I hadn't seen the episode yet.
Yeah, there were so many people, but I just remembered that Rob Tappert, the producer of the show, when he was introducing everybody, he said he's only in one episode this season, but he has an excellent death. I remember he said that.
Oh, that's who he was referring to.
That was amazing. And that actually leads us into our LA Live premiere.
Yay!
Yay!
Wait, I wanted to mention really quick the 10,000 soldiers that Marcus was going to provide. We didn't talk anything about his plan, how cunning he was with with knowing that Spartacus was going to intercept that message. He plotted and planned and schemed this entire thing to come together to where he would be, I guess, the last leader, or what would you call him? Last leader in charge, because he took out everybody else.
The last man standing, pretty much.
Exactly.
There's no other options but Crassus.
And that's too when he gained the rest of Tiberius's respect.
That's right.
And I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. So thank you,
The premiere.
Spicy. But let's, you know what? I almost forgot about favorite quotes. So you've been doing a lot of favorite quotes. I haven't done too many. I want to spout some out.
Okay, what are some of yours?
And after we do favorite quotes, we'll do our news and gossip and the LA Live premiere stuff. Okay, so I said this earlier, they couple words with actions and prove belief. And that was Crassus to his son telling Tiberius to fight and see if he can best the slave. That was good.
Okay, so mine is, a man's true enemy is doubt, the thing I will not carry into battle with Spartacus. Make a choice or fall when you stand.
I like that a lot.
Now, that was intense because I just really feel like that was a deep quote because we can relate to that just in our everyday life. We didn't even have to live in that era. We can relate to that now where doubt is our biggest enemy. And so he wanted to defeat that fear so that he knew when he went toe-to-toe to Spartacus that he stood a chance.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He is well trained in the ways of man. I would expose him to those of the Senate as well. And I love that. That was Crassus he was saying that to Senator Metellus, totally insulting him, saying that he's been teaching his son in the ways of man. Now let's hear the Senate. And the Senate, he's saying that the Senate are not men.
Right, you
They're
were like that's
leeches.
such an insult.
Yeah, exactly. That was awesome. What do you got?
I feel like Marcus kept saying that I serve the glory of Rome. I serve the glory of Rome. Lies, lies, lies.
Yeah.
He serves himself, and he is out for blood, and he wants to end up on top and take Spartacus down.
Oh, absolutely. So he has all the money in Rome. Now he wants all the honor.
Yeah, exactly.
We do not know how many are inside. Let us hope that there are not too few. And that was an exchange between Crixus and Gannicus hoping that that there are not too few men inside, which was really funny.
Only a city will hold all of their men. We shall tear one from flesh of Rome and salt mortal wounds with blood and death.
Oh, yes. I know
That was from Spartacus.
Yes, at the end. That was good. This one, again, Crassus had such good lines. Their asses must be sore from the ramming Spartacus has given them to be begging of help from me, or something like that, to come begging to me, that. So that was awesome. Spartacus cussing is so amazing. It's so good that there are actually memes online now with just Spartacus like curse lines. It's so amazing. Did you have anything else?
So I kind of felt like I'm very big on respect, and I feel like when Tiberius said to his father, you choose to serve beneath them, absent true command, he was questioning his father's position of power. And I love the way that later on they flipped it and they showed us that he knew exactly what he was doing all along.
Yeah, I did like that. There was so much. There was a lack of dramatic irony there, which is we didn't get to see what was happening on the other side or what was happening inside his mind.
Yeah, they didn't really show us that, right? It just happened.
It just happened,
Yeah.
which was good. I loved that. It was amazing. They talk of you as a god and may react poorly when proven mortal, which was Gannicus saying that to Spartacus, when giving him the little speech like, hey, everybody thinks you're a god right now. You better be careful because, you know, if you start to bleed, there's going to be blood in the water and the sharks are going to feed.
Yeah.
You know?
That was a good one. And you
good
keep
quotes.
saying that you think that he's kind of challenging Spartacus a little bit. Like he's kind of opening Spartacus's eyes. Like Spartacus is kind of like, not moral compass, but he speaks freely to Spartacus. So he's kind of able to give him a different perspective that Spartacus might not be seeing.
He does, which is really amazing. I love the way Gannicus and him have that dialogue. And they're both champions. They were both champions in the
Yeah,
arena.
and you have to respect the champion giving you some advice.
Absolutely.
Because Spartacus is new to this. At the end of the day, he's the newcomer.
Yeah, Gannicus has more experience. Gannicus was actually, freed for quite a bit. Well, Spartacus was a free man before he got enslaved too. But let's go ahead and move into our news and gossip now.
Ooh, let's do it.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, as we mentioned earlier, everybody, Spicy and I went to the LA premiere of Spartacus, War of the Damned.
Yes, we waited in a long line with our tickets so we
was
could
funny.
see it first.
That was amazing, though.
It was phenomenal to see Spartacus on the big screen.
It was on Tuesday night that we got to see it, which was really cool. I think that this episode was honestly one of the best episodes of the whole series so far.
I agree.
And well, once I arrived, I got there before Spicy, and I exchanged words with Manu Bennett, otherwise known as Crixus.
And what happened? What did you say to him?
Okay, so I asked him if he and the rest of the team at the show had finished post-production yet. And he actually responded to me, and he said that they have such an amazing team doing post-production because they're on a green screen all the time. Like, none of that is real, pretty much. There's hardly those sets. The only sets that are real are the ones that are enclosed. When they're like in the villas or whatever. But there's so much, when they're on the battlefields, when Spartacus and his men are talking, above that mountain or valley or wherever they're in, it's all green screen. And he said to me, additionally, that he has already sat down and he's been doing the DVD commentary.
Oh,
that
great.
means they're like done with post-production pretty much. If they're sitting down and they're doing the commentary on the DVDs and Blu-rays before the season started, then they're done with post-production pretty much. And it was so funny because I was also listening to what was going on. He was signing autographs and whatnot with fans, and everybody was taking pictures of him. I took a blurry picture as well. It was hilarious because no one was saying anything to him while he was filling. It was like dead silent while he was like filling out autographs, and this is outside of the Regal LA Live Theater.
Right, where people have a direct access to him. They could be yelling, they could be screaming.
Exactly, and it was so hilarious. He even noticed that it was super silent, and he was like, you guys don't have to stay quiet, you can talk to me.
Well, I think he's intimidating. Even when he's not in character, he's still intimidating because, man, he is fun.
He is. He obviously his hair's a lot longer in this episode and probably for the rest of this season, but his hair's shorter now, almost to like Crixus length when we first see Crixus, but he had a little bit of a beard and some scraggliness going on. Fascinating stuff. Once we got into the theater, Stephen DeKnight spoke, as well as Robert Tappert. Rob Tappert's one of the producers. Stephen DeKnight's the creator of the series and the writer of this past episode we watched tonight. They did some kind of silly Spartacus elimination game.
Yeah, they lined everybody up. They lined every single Spartacus character up from all the past seasons and current this one. And then he started to eliminate each character based on who was living and who was not on this season. And he winds up eliminating everybody until he was left with just Spartacus.
With Liam McIntyre.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's an allusion to the old, like, I am Spartacus, I'm Spartacus.
Right.
You know, from the 1960s movie with Kirk Douglas, obviously.
But we got to see everybody's character. Lucy Lawless. I mean, he literally lined up every single character.
John Hannah Batiatas was up there too.
Yeah, and it was amazing to see the fans and the excitement screaming and quoting all of the lines from Spartacus.
It was pretty amazing. Even people were screaming. Everybody loves Asher. You know, I loved him before. I loved to hate him, right? And people quoted Asher, and there was some guy made up his own quote, which was great. He said, "Every season now bears the mark of Asher."
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. And Nick E. Terabay heard it, and he responded, and he was like, "Yeah!" He totally agreed with them. What else? There were also some fans that were singing the drunk song.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
From season 0, Gods of the Arena. And
season 0.
Yeah.
Only Spartacus would have a season 0, folks.
My cock rage is on.
My cock rage is on.
And people were laughing about that. And this one woman seated right in front of us.
She was right in front of us.
She must have thought that Peter Mensa, aka Onimaeus, was so hot or something.
He is hot.
He's got an amazing body. I'll give him that, man.
Yep.
And he's got that charisma. He's seasoned.
He was sexy
actor.
out there. You guys, we literally saw every single character.
Yeah, all the cast members.
Yeah.
From all the seasons. And she said, Onimaeus, I would have words with you. And everybody laughed.
It was
at her.
adorable because you guys,
awesome.
imagine a silent theater. We're in a movie theater, like a real theater. And every fan known to mankind who was able to get a ticket is throwing out quotes, songs, hoping to get a glimpse of these actors. And we were, and Sean and I were just able to sit there and really just take it in. But it really was an amazing moment because we got to see them not only live, but then we got to watch Spartacus prior to it airing on Starz.
Absolutely. And actually, for those of you who don't have Starz right now and love Spartacus, go to starz.com, STARZ.com, and they have the first episode for free right now. You can watch it. I just got an Apple TV, so I was streaming it onto my my screen, and it on my TV screen. It's so much better than just looking at it on my iPad.
Oh,
You know?
so Sean, can I ask you really quick? How did you think that Liam McIntyre did this episode?
I thought he did his role, but I feel like it isn't as strong. Again, he's portraying this character who is idealized, and he's supposed to be there at the top, right? And I pretty much broke it down when I said he's Captain Ahab. He has been wounded by Rome, this beast, and he's trying to catch this beast and kill it himself. It's a fool's errand. He's not going to be able to do this.
Have you embraced him yet as the Spartacus?
I think he looks a little bit better. You had some complaints about his body. I think he looks better in the face, though. His hair.
I think the hair was necessary on his face.
It
yes.
was. But what did you think about his body, Spicy?
You guys at home, I don't know, rate, comment, let us know. Go to YouTube, comment, go to iTunes and comment. But do you feel like his body is up to par to be the leader of this incredible gladiator army? Like Spartacus still needs to do some more working out, take some protein shakes. I feel like there's no excuse for him not bulking up and being bigger this season.
To his defense a bit, I feel like I saw a bit of abs when he was sitting down.
I feel like they were a little spray tanned when he was sitting down.
Okay.
Just keeping it real, folks.
Additionally, to my news and gossip, I followed Dan Farragill on Instagram. I have been getting into Instagram a lot more in the last year.
Nice.
Because I have an iPad, and Instagram became available for Android. So Dan Farragill, by the way, is Agron. Okay. And I found a few interesting pics on his pictures up there. His famous line, "fucking goals." Remember when he came in? He always said that about Crixus, right? Him and his brother always said that stuff all the time. And even up until last season, he would say that all the time. But now he is actually not saying it, which is funny. And this line is so famous. Anyway, his line "fucking galls" is actually so famous now that it's on T-shirts and memes that people have put all over online.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I want a shirt of that.
It's super funny, and he signed the shirt too, and I think he was going to sell it or something. It looked like
That's pretty cool.
For a good cause. And he randomly also came across a sticker on a card that showed a white outline symbol of him as Agron.
Oh.
And his caption read, his caption for his picture on Instagram read, you know you're doing something right when someone makes a car sticker with your name on
A
it.
bumper sticker.
It's
I
pretty
know. We need bumper
amazing.
stickers, Sean. That's when we know we made it.
Yeah, so, and who are we missing so far this season? We're missing Caesar, who's going to be played by Todd Lassen. Okay, we're also missing Anne Hutchinson, who's going to play a Roman girl named, or woman rather, named Laeta. And who else haven't we seen? We have not seen this actress named Gwendolyn Taylor, who is called Sybil, and she's supposed to be, I think, she's supposed to be Gannicus's new love conquest or interest.
So we're going to be introduced to them later on in the season, or maybe next episode?
Maybe next episode. For sure, we saw the trailer for the next episode, and that's actually I saw in it Laeta. She was Anne Hutchinson. She was in Cabin in the Woods. Do you remember that film that came out early 2012?
No.
You didn't like it?
I didn't see
you
it.
didn't see it? Okay, I saw it a couple of times, but she's in that. She's like the blonde, and she plays like the dumb blonde in the horror movie who shows her boobs and she gets she gets killed pretty much.
That sounds like every horror movie.
Seriously. And I was like, maybe because she showed her boobs in that movie, maybe that's why she's
They're like,
here.
you're booked. We got you, Spartacus.
Yeah,
You're
but
perfect.
she looks so different though, because she went redhead. I feel like in Spartacus.
Redheads are in though. Redheads are very sexy.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see her. Did you have any news and gossip?
No, I think we covered it all.
Oh yeah, well of course we sure did. We had that LA live premiere.
Yeah,
Anyway,
the premiere was amazing.
it was, and it was so fun to be there. Let's go ahead and talk about predictions now.
Productions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so Spartacus has to have a love affair.
I hope he has a woman in his life this season.
I don't know who it's going to be, though. That's the only prediction that I'm not quite sure who they're going to incorporate as. Maybe it's somebody who he's about to go kill, and he winds up allowing her to live and he falls in love. I can see something like that happening, but he has to have a muse.
Maybe it's going to be this new character Laeta.
Right, exactly. Okay, I can totally see that. As far as Marcus Crassus is concerned, he definitely is going to build up this strength in order to overpower Spartacus, but I still think at the end Spartacus will hopefully defeat him. But I don't know historically what happens.
I hope so too, but I'm on the negative side of that.
Sean knows the truth because Sean has read the backstory.
I feel like next episode they're going to overthrow a city full of inhabitants. This new character Laeta, she's going to be there, and we will kill many Romans in this invasion.
Kill them all.
And they're going to free more slaves in the process, which is kind of obvious. And maybe this is where Gannicus is also going to meet this new slave girl, Sybil, who he's probably going to fall in love with.
Yeah, I want Gannicus to have like a real love. I want him to experience that because I know that he's capable of it, and I think that will help his transition into leadership as well.
I feel like Marcus Crassus will not be one to be underestimated, or trifled with. However, all of Spartacus's army, it's going to think of him as a common Roman, which is going to be a big mistake. And I think that's going to lead to the downfall of Spartacus and all of his men.
I think that his wife as well, let us not underestimate her, because she is not getting any attention, and kind of like Lithia's character and Lucy Lawless, Lucretia, both of their characters, whenever they were taken out of their positions of power or just not getting attention by their men, they always did something to undermine them. And I see her undermining him. I see her being a thorn in his ASSS.
Wow.
ASS, there you go. ASS, his ass. Okay, I would just say his ass because I can't spell it.
Crass ass.
His crass ass. I see her being a thorn because she acknowledges she's not getting the love and attention and respect that she deserves. So I see her kind of creating some kind of problem or feud in their relationship or in his position of power.
That's a good point. And I also think that Tiberius, Crassus's son, is going to turn out to be gay.
Crassus. I can't believe we're saying that. He's
Crassus. Crassus.
Okay, he might possibly be gay. He looks like a little mini teen wolf to me.
He's pretty funny looking, I must say.
He's cute. He's a cutie pie to me.
And lastly, next episode, we will see Caesar come in.
Yay! I'm excited for that.
And that is going to be pretty fascinating.
that concludes our AfterBuzz wrap-up.
Yep, I think that's about it. So, again, thank you so much, guys, for joining me and Spicy Madi here.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it.
And you can go ahead and follow me at Sean Austin O on Twitter. That's SeanAustino.
And you can play with my Twitter day and night at spicy_Madi. That's SPICY_MARI.
That is quite spicy when you say that.
If you're a Spartacus fan, you will completely understand.
Well, anyway, so thanks a lot, guys. And don't forget to check us out on iTunes, download us, give us 5-star rating, and we'll go ahead and see you on The War of the Damned next week.
Yeah, yeah.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.